One Piece has the most unabashed personality I have ever seen in anything and completely commits to all of its ideas no matter how weird or wacky, and always has the balls to bring the extreme emotional weight. That's how I'd best describe my conclusion about what makes One Piece so great, having just finished the Drum Island arc 150 chapters into the series. I would absolutely recommend it to everybody, and I think it's outstanding. That's my short sell of One Piece, but let me explain some individual elements of what makes One Piece so great in order to convince those who haven't read it to read it, and highlight some things for the One Piece fans in the audience, and remind them what makes them so great. Super Eyepatch Wolf in his One Piece video made a general point about the series using this scene of Usopp sitting on a cliff looking out at the sea to explain One Piece's abstract attention to detail and characterization. In this scene, Usopp has a conversation with Luffy. The plot elements here aren't important to the point, but to get to Luffy and Usopp having a conversation, rather than Oda having Luffy solemnly walk up behind Usopp and start talking, Luffy appears upside down out of the tree next to where Usopp was sitting and freaks him out. Then has the conversation, leaving Usopp and the audience wondering how long Luffy has been in that tree. Basically, what Oda has done here is taken a generic conversational scene and not only made it into a clever gag, but has also given Luffy and Usopp characterization outside of the conversation by making Luffy wacky and making Usopp jokingly cowardly, as he likes to do. This was not necessary for the plot, but it does wonders for the characters and adds a lot of that personality One Piece thrives off of. The principle established here of these little details in the way characters get into situations is one of the things I appreciate most about One Piece, as things like this happen over and over. When running away from Whiskey Peak, Luffy doesn't wake Usopp and Sanji up and have them run themselves back to the Going Merry. He grabs Usopp by his Pinocchio-inspired nose and Sanji by the leg and drags them screaming to the ship, creating the situation for this incredible panel to exist. Comedy is a massive core part of One Piece, and the laughs don't stop because of the creative implementation of certain gags like this one. Another tiny gag that I love that sort of captures this appeal of One Piece is at the after party they have after Arlong Park has fallen. Now, Luffy's not really in this chapter, but he is the main character, so Oda gives him this continual background gag of looking for a specific food at the party that he saw Sanji eating earlier that he can't find. And dumb fucking Luffy walking around with 6 different cuts of meat looking for more goofily, while an arc is emotionally wrapping up with Nami after having defeated the most terrifying villain in One Piece so far 2 chapters earlier, is all exactly what One Piece is about. And it's cute, and it's wholesome, and it's funny, and not to mention it's great. You can tell Oda uses all the pages and all the panels every week to the fullest because of these meaningless to the overall plot details that only exist to just give Luffy a reason to do something and be on screen during the chapter. It's great. Another thing that piggybacks off that last point about what makes One Piece so great is that the last few chapters of every arc are always phenomenal. There are 2 types of arc endings in One Piece that I've identified so far. There's ones that end in massive emotional payoffs, think Baratie and Drum Island, and there's ones that end with a scene that recontextualizes the entire arc retroactively and perfectly ties everything together. Think Syrup Village, my personal favorite arc so far, and Little Garden, probably my second favorite arc so far. Arlong Park also fits into that category with the ending reveal of why Genzo wears the pinwheel on his head, being because it made Nami laugh and like him. But like everything in One Piece, that final moment plays back into Luffy, as repeatedly throughout the arc he comments on how cool and how much he likes the pinwheel thing on Genzo's hat. There's all this narrative and thematic weight behind the pinwheel, but Luffy just likes it because he thinks it's cool, because he's weird. And then when it's revealed that that's why Nami liked it originally too, it only shows how similar and how perfect Luffy and Nami are as friends, if their earlier Nakama moment in Arlong Park hadn't already established that. But again, this is just a little detail in an overall picture that I love. But Luffy really embodies the appeal of One Piece to me, and if you don't immediately understand how awesome Luffy is and identify with how awesome Luffy is, I think One Piece will be a hard sell for you. Luffy is my favorite character in One Piece so far, in a sea of legitimately amazing characters. Note that I've only just finished Drum Island, and Nico Robin, who I've decided is my favorite for obvious reasons, isn't really a character yet. But the point still stands. Luffy epitomizes One Piece's infectious theme of freedom and standing up to systems you don't like just because they piss you off. A great characterizing moment for Luffy incredibly earlier on is his interactions with Kobe. who's a kid who's been held captive by Alvida the pirate but wants to run away and join the Navy but doesn't have the courage or the strength to do so. Koby is indirectly saved by Luffy at some point and ends up talking to him, and Koby tells him his somewhat tragic backstory and how he's stuck in this awful situation and is too cowardly to try and run away, and you would expect a different shonen protagonist to tell Koby that he can do anything he wants and to help him escape, but Luffy literally tells Koby he's a worthless piece of shit and that he hates him. Now this is done comedically, but Luffy is not joking, which is another through line throughout One Piece. Luffy always unknowingly being himself and us finding it funny. But Luffy is very principled and will not move on his principles. In his world, you fight for what you believe in no matter what the cost, and if you do that, Luffy will respect you and help you. And currently Koby is doing nothing for himself. Now inadvertently, just watching Luffy not give a fuck about societal norms and carving his own path, Koby is inspired to grow some balls and not kowtow to Alvida anymore. And Luffy does help him and they do become friends. But it's only because Luffy is unabashedly harsh and honest with him initially that Koby takes the initiative. This is basically Luffy in a nutshell. But another great thing about Luffy is that you have to infer all of this. We nearly never get an internal monologue with Luffy, which commonly leads to us having to speculate if he's an idiot or a genius, which is the beauty in his character. He somehow always understands and does the right thing for his friends, even in situations like Arlong Park and Drum Island, where he has no idea about the tragic backstory and the context of these situations and just wants Nami and Chopper respectively to join his crew. Or if he has a more special bond with his friends and innately understands what he needs to do to help them and just does it because he's the coolest guy. Luffy is the perfect main character for a shonen, and it's incredible that he does nearly exactly the same thing arc after arc, and it always feels fresh and is always great to watch. 150 chapters into One Piece and I can comfortably say, even over Kid Goku, that Luffy is my favorite shonen protagonist ever. And that's only Luffy. If there's another amazing thing I would praise about One Piece, it's that I don't think there's a single character I've disliked so far. Racking my brain right now, there's no point in the story where I was viscerally annoyed by a character and wanted them off screen. In fact, another astounding thing about the series is just how great every member of the crew is in my opinion, and how well they are characterized by both extremely emotional backstories and big or emotional character moments. And these characters are only accentuated by how expressive yet goofy Oda makes these big emotional moments, which fits everything that we've gone over so far already perfectly. A recent example of this was Chopper crying after being given bread by his pal the pirate doctor, whose name I still can't pronounce. The panel carries such emotion, yet it's still goofy and funny, and that creates this sense of wholesomeness, which obviously benefits the narrative because it's literally the first nice thing anyone has ever done for Chopper, and he just lets the emotion out, showing how much it means to him. Zoro's pledge over his dead girlfriend's corpse that he is going to achieve their mutual dream of becoming the world's best swordsman, and that he will be so famous that his name will even be known in heaven just so she can know what he did too, is fucking incredible. And this panel works exactly the same way the Chopper one did, with the emotion, goofiness, and wholesomeness, and it's spectacular. And I don't want to even go into the Sanji moment at the end of Baratie, because that's the best moment in One Piece so far, and I want to make a whole other video about it separate from this one. But One Piece is sheer visceral emotion, like nothing I've ever seen before. And if I was going to encapsulate my thoughts about my journey with One Piece so far, I'd highlight this visceral emotion, which is evident mostly in Luffy, but really in all the characters and the character arcs in this series. So those are my disconnected, edited ramblings about what I think makes One Piece so great only 150 chapters into this nearly 1,000 chapter behemoth. I'm going to continue my journey, and I would encourage you, if you haven't started One Piece and are putting it off, to just start now. It's worth it. This was your Patreon video for the month of June, released hopefully right at the last possible moment. I hope you enjoyed, and thank you to all of the patrons for your continued support.